Beard porosity. This is one of those terms maybe you've heard thrown out there here or there. Maybe someone referenced it and said, I have high beard porosity, or someone's like, I wonder if I have low beard porosity, and you're not quite sure what it is, or is it even something that matters? Is it a factor you should consider in your beard care and your beard grooming routine? And I do want to put a little warning out there first. If you say this word too many times in a row, it's one of those words that becomes not real, where you start questioning it. Is this a real word? Am I saying this correctly? And you start wondering about the universe and go, hey, careful with saying porosity 3 times in a row. You have been warned. But for real, in this video, we're going to break it down and give you my perspective on what this is and if it's something we should really consider with the products that you're buying, with the tools and techniques that you're using to style and care for your beard. But first, quick introduction. My name is Dan C. Bearded, and I do want to say thank you for checking this video out. This type of stuff is a real passion of mine, and the more that you guys watch, the more people it gets out to, the more influence that we can have to improve beards, help confidence, and literally change lives. You guys are amazing. So when I say thank you, I really do mean that. And I'm excited. Hopefully you are. If you are excited, real quick, take a second, hit the thumbs up, aka the like button. It's free just to simply say, I like this content. I like commenting. I like helping people as well, or learning. It's all good here. And if you're not subscribed, shout out to those returning subscribers, and you like this kind of content, my goodness, this is what this channel's all about. The details, the little things that we don't always hear about with beard stuff. I love to cover that. Please consider subscribing if you have not already, and let's jump into it. To break it down, porosity is actually very simple. It's the ability for your hair to absorb and or retain moisture. Now, if you look at a hair, it is essentially dead skin cells, aka keratin, right, that get stacked up on top of each other, and there's 3 layers to the hair. And this is a structure that keeps the hair fibers in line. This allows them to keep stacking on top of each other and to grow from the follicle or the base where the root is. There's a whole complex system. Every single hair, especially on our beard, has a sebaceous gland that's going to give us sebum oil. It also has 2 different blood vessels that are going to deliver the nutrients and hydration that they need. It's a lot that goes on here, but the hair itself is porous, meaning it's not solid, it's not sealed. There's an ability for water to go in and out of the hair. Your ability to bring in moisture and hold it there is a good thing. Now, if you do not have that kind of ability, it's not a bad thing. You just need to be able to adjust accordingly, and we'll kind of break all of that down. So the biggest question, now that we know what it is, right? We got little holes in our hair and it can fill up, it can stay, it can go. The biggest question is, does it actually matter? My answer is kind of. And I'll give you an example that's not perfect, but many of you will get what I'm saying here. It's very similar to what reminds me of the US medical system, where we are all about treating symptoms, but too many times we're not looking at the cause. We're just treating what's happening and not saying why, how can we stop it, rather than just get rid of the symptoms, right? Are you with me there? Okay. So with the porosity, there's other factors that are far more important to explain why you have low porosity or why you have high porosity. Why is the hair not absorbing moisture? Why is the hair not retaining moisture? Figuring that out is far more important than understanding if you have high or low. And I'll pause here real quick because some of you say, Dan, I don't know if I do. There is a test. I don't even recommend it, and I'll explain why in a second, but you can do it if you're curious. It doesn't hurt anything. Find a beard hair that has shed, right? It's in the shower, it's in the sink, whatever the case may be. You do need to dry that hair out. So the sink might be a good option. Dry it out, and then you're just gonna get a little bowl of water, put that hair in the bowl, and let go. If that hair fills up with water and sinks to the bottom, you have high porosity. That hair is allowing moisture to get in, and it's able to keep it, which makes it heavier than the water, so it sinks. If that hair just simply floats after 10 minutes, after 20 minutes, after a half an hour, you have very low porosity. No moisture is getting in there, and also no moisture staying in there, and so that can be an indicator of high or low porosity. But what does that actually tell you? Not much, other than what's happening. There is always a reason why you have high or low porosity. The first one would be your beard type. Certain types of beards just simply lend themselves to different types of porosity. For example, red, white, gray, and silver beards usually have the worst porosity. They're not good at bringing moisture in, and they're not good at keeping moisture. The main reason is not because of like the water test or anything like that. That's just a symptom. The main reason is the structure of those hairs are different. Has to do with the pigment stopping, has to do with the way that they're coming out of the skin. They are structurally different than a blonde hair, than a brown hair, than a black hair. Very, very different. And it can be challenging to kind of break it down on the easiest way possible. Oftentimes, those hairs are missing their outer layer of protection. Now, that outer layer of protection can retain the moisture. The outer layer of protection can lock those hair fibers in. There's a lot of benefits in having that kind of layer of protection. If that's your case, I'll give you a tip in a little bit. Another example of something that could cause low porosity, ding, 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 you guessed it, that's being dehydrated. If you're not getting hydration internally, externally, your hair is going to be dry. Your hair is going to be brittle, and not in good ways, right? Not like physically to the touch dry, like feels like a bird's nest, feels like hay. That's not a good thing, and it's really hard to hold in that moisture when you are internally dehydrated, because essentially everything's just going to be sucked up and gone because you don't have that ability to hold it in. So that's another factor, right? If we do a porosity test and you have low porosity and you're dehydrated, the test doesn't matter too much if you're not going to drink some more water, right? You know what I mean? Now, on the flip side, if you have something where your hair really absorbs water, really holds it in, that's usually an indication that you do have a black beard, a brown beard, something that has strong pigment to it. It usually means that you're hydrated, that you're healthy. That's usually on kind of the beneficial side of things. Now, does it matter? Those factors absolutely matter in figuring out what type of beard products you need. If you have a red, white, silver, gray beard, I do recommend leaning more towards a heavier oil rotation. Now, notice I said rotation. I do not believe any beard should be all heavy oils, all thin oils. I genuinely believe there's a huge benefit in rotating through different viscosities, because if you're only using heavy oils, those are sealing and coating. They're staying more so on the top of the hair and on the skin. Eventually they can absorb, but they're not going to ever absorb in as deeply as a thin viscosity oil, as a deeply penetrating oil. So you have layers of the skin that you're just simply not nourishing and getting to if you only stick with a heavy oil. So a nice rotation, but you can lean one way or the other. Those thick oils, again, are going to do well for those low porosity hairs because it gives them that outer layer of protection. It's sealing, it's coating like nature normally would, but your hairs just don't have that. On the flip side, a lot of hairs that do have a lot of absorption, they retain a lot of moisture, they lend themselves more to a thin viscosity, a medium viscosity, because they don't need to lock it in as much. They want to penetrate deeper into the skin. So figuring out the factors and figuring out the variables is very important. One that you might not have a lot of control over is climate. If you live in a dry area, your porosity is going to be likely lower than someone in a humid climate. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of factors that go into this, but figuring those out and dialing in what works for you is by far the most important aspect. So, questions. I know this is something I haven't really covered on the channel before because I just don't think that the term is important. I think that the causes, the reasons are very important, and then the outcomes are very important, but I don't think it does anybody good to say I have this type or I have that type, and that's just my opinion. Let me know what you're wondering about porosity. Let me know what you're wondering about the causes, the solutions, the product types, anything that you guys have, and especially any comments from experience from yourself, leave it down below. Those are so beneficial to people, so we can hear from an entire community, not just from me. Thank you guys for watching. Cannot wait to read these comments. I think we're gonna have some really unique ones today and hear some great tips, hear some great questions, and I will respond to every single one. Thank you guys one more time. My name's Dancy Bearded. Please stay bearded and stay positive.